No, they had to. I was.
So enjoyable.
I'm still thinking about it. My dad's a trucker.
What is that like? That's how it is.
Your edited claims, you'll be getting a
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm ready when you are.
Oh. And you'll be getting also the edited one, so you can compare.
Is it on? Are you ready? I can always tell the song when I do that. Are you ready? And the other people are like, what's that? It's a song by. Who is it? Is that the I don't. No. I don't remember that. So you remember it? Are you ready? Look to your left, look to your right, see who's missing. Stand up, sit down, fight.
It's around here somewhere.
Who are you missing? Stanley Kowalski.
He's here.
I will wait patiently.
Probably use the restroom.
Here he is. Okay. Everybody ready? Everybody got enough to eat? Okay, so guess what? We're going to do the strong and reliable vote now. And, oh, we're not? It's not me. Well, I guess it's not me. Is it you?
No, but we're just not doing that activity.
We're several steps away from there. We're getting claims. No, we already did that. So so you're up. We're not.
Yeah, we're giving a chance for the large group to give some friendly amendments out to your edited, and you will go back into session to do some redrafting at your discretion. So the people who were in groups together is we've printed out your updated, edited version. Will take just not very much time, but if you have any other friendly suggestions for them to consider, they can hear that from you for the large group, and then they go back and make some choices about if and how to edit the claim. And that'll be kind of the last editing process of these claims. And after that is when we will come back and have you determine through a vote whether each of the claims is strong and reliable enough.
So mine was just previews of coming attractions.
Yeah, exactly. All that's happening today, believe it or not. So let's start with claim 8.1. And who had 8.1? Stanley's group. So Stanley, you all can read this. I'm going to hand this to you because you'll take that back to your group. And the rest of you have a chance to read it and offer any questions or friendly amendments. Laura.
We need the word study after the word university.
Study as in S-T-U-D-Y?
Yeah.
Study.
According to a 2017 Stanford University study,
So what are you handing out, Damon? What are you handing out? Oh, okay. So we also have phone a friend feedback. That says your feedback from the background expert, Liam Dillon. Somebody's missing a page. Well, you can keep that too, but that's the one we're working from. Okay. All right. So we are not going to spend a lot of time. You all have this feedback. And is there any other friendly amendment that you'd like to offer Stanley's group for 8.1? Strike 8. As in start over, or? That's not, yeah, that's very friendly.
He's saying it's not Stanford
Wait,
study,
y'all,
San
we need to
Francisco.
use the microphone. So Steve had a comment, and then
If it
Sherlon.
if it doesn't relate to Prop 10, why would we have it in here?
I think he's
Okay,
saying that,
Sherlon, and then Shirley.
I think he's saying it does. It's on context, but he's saying that this, if this is referring to Stanford's study, then it's incorrect. He said because the study is really of San Francisco's rent control policy, so the citing that they use, he's saying is incorrect.
Okay, she's nodding her head. Is the suggestion as you're reading it is that it's really the citing of the source that's incorrect from this claim. Okay.
Got
Any other suggestions for 8.1? All right, Vic.
So put the word study in like I think Laura said. And then if we go down, it's a flawed measure that will think that is worse by increasing housing rental costs. I think use the word by.
in Stanford University study, San Francisco's rent control policies make the housing crisis worse, increasing housing rental costs and making it harder to find affordable housing in the future. And that would be our next question is, with that new information, does it even need to be included because it's not addressing Prop 10,
Well, we're not on those now.
for future consideration?
Okay. All right. Any others before we move to the next one? Vic?
Are we just discussing it or are those changes being made in the computer?
So thank you. The process is, these are friendly amendments to the group who worked on that claim. They can do what they want with it. So they'll go back and do whatever editing they want to do. And then it'll come back to the full group for determination. You get to vote on, is this strong and reliable enough to pass forward? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move to the next one. 19.2. Whose claim, or who worked on that rather? We don't really own the claims. We just We're editing them. Who had it?
Give it to Mike.
Give it to Mike. Which Mike? I'm going to have you hold on to this, and you don't need to read it. Just ask the group if they have any friendly amendments for you.
Any friendly amendments?
Looked like comment also from your phone a friend on that one.
Right.
So Rose F has her hand up. Can somebody pass the mic over from Dennis to Rose? Nope. Right there. Got it.
The only thing I was going to say is, according to a research analyst from the Haas Institute,
Okay.
instead of for.
All right. Shirley, there's a microphone right there. Yeah.
In terms of what the analyst said, we can't use the analyst's name if it's an independent person or not.
It's up to you. It's
Okay.
not recommended that you use a
We won't
specific
use
name
it.
per the
Okay.
editing guidelines.
Okay. Then I guess then I'm a little confused, because if the research analyst was sitting here and actually made a statement and it says here we can't confirm what they said, then I don't understand how that, how that relates.
So your question is about the source of
The source, yeah, there was
comment
a
and
a
how
expert,
to
there
how to
was
put
an
that in there.
expert source here that made a statement, and here it says I can't confirm what the analyst said. So is that something that I'm going to
That's true.
see
He
throughout?
can't confirm it, but we
He
heard it,
can't he's just not confirming it, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's not there.
but it did.
Okay.
just wanna make-
She did say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you still have your card up, Rose?
I was just going to add, if we can not use the HAAS and again, like spell it or, yeah, write
Yeah,
the
so
full name of the institution.
We'll get to all that kind of
Okay.
typo stuff through a later typo time, as Lynn likes to call it, typo time. So all the acronyms, all the spelling, all that stuff can be dealt with later. Right now, it's about content. All right. Okay, so let's go to 33.1. Pat. So any comments for this one? It looks like there was a little bit of feedback from the phone a friend. Any friendly amendments or questions on this one for the group that worked on this?
We're at 33.1. I think we should have fewer rental properties rather than less as an English teacher. Fewer.
Grammar later, yeah. I know it's difficult for many of us in the room. So I'm with you. And you don't necessarily have to go through that tedious process right now. Am I allowed to say tedious? Does that bias me? Dennis.
Did you give her the paper because you assumed she was the team working on it?
Yes, I did, but she wasn't.
No, it was.
Oh, okay. No, so we need to give this to the group that was working on
Yeah.
it. Sorry, was that your group?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Good catch. So were there any other amendments or questions on this one? Okay. 2.1. Who did 2.1? Which group? Tim's group worked on 2.1. Okay. Any friendly amendments, questions, editing suggestions on this one? Grammar. Now, again, when we say that, if it's if it should say is not instead of is, changing the intent of the claim, you might want to raise that type of an edit. So don't get too, if it's something that's going to clarify the intent of the claim, you should raise that now with the goal of making it strong and reliable.
Yeah, I have a question. Should, according to
But we'll get to that one in in a few.
Yeah.
All right. 5.1. Who worked on 5.1? So you've got phone a friend feedback. Okay. It's good. Group ownership. It's very good. So whoever was working on that. Okay, there you go. So questions, edits, suggestions for that group on this claim?
The expert said how you define predatory housing practices. So I guess we would take that back and look at it from that standpoint, from that, try to clarify what that means, predatory housing practices.
Yeah, I just noticed that 5.1 and where'd it go? 23.2 are fairly similar, except 23.2 is point that out.
All right, so you're noting that you think there are two that are very, very similar.
Yeah, 23.2 is more detailed.
Okay, 23.2 is more detailed. All right. 12. I don't know. Do you want to do something with that? Are you making a suggestion or just noting it for now?
What are the options?
Well, there's the option to make some suggested changes.
I guess the suggestion would be to define the predatory housing practices that are referred to.
Yes, okay. All right. 12.1. Who worked on 12.1? Chuck. Okay. So you had a comment on this one, Pat, earlier.
I think I had my numbers mixed up.
Okay, I think we're on the one that you were referring to now.
Oh.
Yes.
Right. I think that the issue whether that should be included, that the legislative analyst's office had verified that, or it came from them. I didn't know if it should be included in that number or not.
Okay, so
Cite the
consider-
source.
Right. Okay, Tim?
I also think consideration of the word from would to could be a consideration.
All right. 17.2. Oh, Shirley, it was your group. Just gonna move this out of the way. Thank you so much. Any comments on this one? Did you have any comments from the phone a friend? Right. Is this the one that you worked on for a long time? No, no, okay. All right. 10.1. Who worked on 10.1?
Well, that was in the second round, but in the first round it was,
That's what you're talking about, right? The second round.
What did you just work on?
The one we just worked on more or less.
Oh, okay.
Yep, the second round when you were in your groups
Yeah, we worked
before
on it the
lunch.
second round.
Okay, great. Any suggestions, comments on this one? Did you have any from your phone a friend? Correct?
Is it, yes, this is correct. And
Okay, Tim.
I think it might be beneficial to add that currently there are 17 rental boards in the state of California.
Okay, consider that.
No, we don't know that though,
Mike,
because not rent controlled city has a rental board.
I will find it for you, but I have it here.
use the microphone.
15
Use the microphone. Yeah.
In Claim 13, if we're going to use some of their info, according to the U.S. Census Bureau from 2000 to 2016, while the African American population in California remained about the same, in the 15 rent-controlled cities, their population decreased by 19. So I think we can assume there's about 15 or 17 rent-controlled boards.
no assumptions though. Yeah.
15 rent-controlled cities. I mean, if someone has an answer, if
All right.
rent-controlled cities
That's
mean they have a
true, but
board.
not boards. 15 rent-controlled cities, but not rent-controlled boards. You do not have to have a rent-controlled board to be under rent control.
Is that a statement that everyone agrees with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it 15 or was there 2 new ones added to make it 17?
I remember there were also
Santa Monica and Long Beach. Yeah.
So I'm confused about which claim you're talking about.
So
Yes?
10.1
You're still on.
to Claim 13, which actually includes the detail of 15 rent-controlled cities.
Okay.
And then there were the 2 added ones.
Okay. So friendly amendment, you're making a question, a consideration. Folks are saying there may be different information. There's also a comment on claim 13.1 in a couple claims. So if you want to bring it back in then as well. Rose and then Laura.
I'm actually still confused, and the reader might be too, where the number 539 comes from.
Would you like to take that, Michael, or shall I?
I mean, I don't even like this one, so I'm not.
Yeah. So that number,
Just have it
yeah,
come to my
right.
table, but I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, I would have put the no paddle up for this one, so I don't really have any
So I think
stake in defending it.
the question to the group is, did you have or could you cite the source of the 539 number?
And this came from one of the ones that was already existing. This wasn't this was
Number 10.
Okay. So that's a question,
That guy with the
a
glasses probably
consideration to
made
the
this one.
group. Laura and then Michelle. Oh, can you hand Laura the microphone?
I'm not sure if it's just a grammar thing. I think it's more of a syntax thing where it says it potentially allows the creation, but Prop 10 doesn't allow the creation. It just opens the door for communities to create those boards.
So your suggestion is?
Find a nicer way to say opens the door for the creation of as many as 539 rental boards.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know how many cities there are in California? Is that the number of cities? It's not the number of counties. Can we Google that?
It must be cities
Can
and
they Google
counties
that?
combined.
You can Google that. You can Google how many cities are in California if you want to. You can Google how many rental boards are there in California. Michelle?
Can you tell me again, sorry, what our phone a friend is helping us to do with regards to his comments?
His task was to look through for strong and reliable back to you if there was anything that caused concern for him in terms.
That's what I was going to say is if I was working on this with regards to strong and reliable, I might have questioned that. I might have wanted to make this claim more reliable. If I knew something about that 539, I would then maybe cite it.
Okay.
He didn't cite it, the phone a friend person. I'm curious how it's strong and reliable to our team and how it's also strong and reliable to him.
Well, the key difference between what he can do and what you're asked to do is he can't offer you suggested edits. All he can do is tell you correct or may not be correct, or you might want to double check, but he's not invited to give you a solution. He's not invited to actually edit your claim. You have to do the work of editing. But so what he's suggesting is correct. That's all he's written. So he's not invited to cite the source for you for this example. Ashley? No.
Okay.
They've asked if they can, and they've been given permission to Google that if they want to look that up for themselves. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any more on 10.1?
To Laura's point, Laura, would it satisfy your concern if allows was changed to provides for?
Can you repeat that?
Instead of the word allows, it would read the passage of Prop 10 potentially provides
That.
Okay.
It doesn't do that. It allows communities to do that after it passes or if it passes in the language of the actual proposition that creates those boards.
Okay.
And so I'm being probably overly cautious about the language.
Okay, friendly amendment. Okay, thank you. Anything else on 10.1? Dennis?
It's just that I have to return 33.1 to its rightful group. I wasn't working on this before lunch, so whoever it was now is the time to speak up.
This poor claim. Still trying to find a home.
We're confused because we didn't work with the first group.
I see. There was a group of 6 who maybe made changes to this. Maybe you didn't make any changes to it, but it was in your group to work on before lunch. Less rental properties causes higher rental prices. Was that yours? You take that. Did you work on it? Chuck is claiming it as well. Chuck's group, yeah, got it. All right, let's look at 21.2. Who worked on 21.2? Anybody? Did anybody?
I worked on it at some point. I don't know when.
Okay. So were you guys the group right before lunch that worked on it, Laura?
I think we were. Because 2 of the ones that I worked on in the first session were in, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to hand this over. Were you in the same group with Rose? Okay. So the question for that group is what you have suggested edits, questions, friendly amendments, and you're welcome to also look at any feedback from your phone a friend. All right, 13.1. And please, if you're feeling we're moving too quickly, asking this down, but I'm just assuming that if I don't get cards up, I'm just going to keep moving. But if you need me to slow down, let me know. Okay, 13.1. Vic's group worked on that one.
I have a comment.
Comment from Pat.
Could you go ahead and put African American instead of A American? Because I don't think it's clear.
Okay. Suggested.
Yeah, I abbreviated and I thought at the end we put the actual word.
That would
Oh,
go,
okay.
might
that would go
didn't-
in later.
Yeah.
We may have missed that also. Okay, so the comments we made. Other suggestions? All right, 14.1. Did you work on that? Okay. Take that. Rose? F?
I would just consider maybe breaking it into 2 sentences. It's a really long sentence.
Okay. All right. 3.1? That's your second side. Was that one you worked on, Shalon? Got it. 3.1. That wasn't yours? Oh. Give it back. It's okay. A lot of them are starting to look similar as the comment. Yeah, okay. So it's okay that you're maybe not remembering exactly which ones you worked on.
This is just being a little bit nitpicky, not and who are not languages there. I think it could.
Okay. The double negative makes it unclear is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think using does. I think using not twice in the same part of the what is it, the phrase is a little confusing.
Okay. Go ahead, Laura, and then I'll bring this over.
It potentially be changed to does not directly impact owner-occupied households.
Okay.
And you're leaving in who are not landlords?
Okay. Are you suggesting they should, or are they?
Well, it does affect owner-occupied households, single-family dwellings. If you want to become a landlord, you're affected.
Okay.
But if your household is owner-occupied, you're living in the house that you own.
And you want to rent a room, you're affected.
Oh.
So that,
Okay. So
But if
help
you're-
the group try to understand what you're suggesting to make this clearer or to make it more accurate.
Once you rent a room, you are a landlord.
correct, and that means you're now affected. So the public would want to know, their single-family dwelling could be affected if they decide to rent it out, or if they decide to rent a room. So the whole first part of the thing is confusing. By telling homeowners that they're not affected, what if they're a homeowner that is a landlord right now?
Then they are affected.
That could be confusing, though, is what I'm saying. It's hard to be clear.
Anybody want to help out with this one? Or Chuck also had a comment. He's got a microphone.
My comment's not really related to the point that was just about the last four words. I think it might be clear or more accurate. Instead of saying local rent control boards, maybe local rent control policies. I think.
Okay. Rose.
I have this suggestion, maybe this might or might not impact the homeowners who are not landlords. Maybe turn it into those that are landlords, homeowners who are landlords, and then turn the statement around a little bit.
Okay. Jenny, did you have your?
I have because the second sentence, it does provide the opportunity for safeguarding property values and neighborhoods. I don't think this sentence is kind of like has evidence based or it's true or from any cited source.
Okay. So it seems like there's a lot to think about with this one. Back to the editing group. Do the editing group, the group who's going to be working on this, do you have any other questions from the large group about how to edit this if you're considering making changes? Do you have questions? All right. Michelle, you had your card up as well. Did you want to add something to this before we?
I wanted to suggest to keep the integrity as much as you can with regards to the first part of that, because if you look at 11.1, we have something very similar there. But I think that if you could develop a little bit with regards to how it doesn't affect the homeowner, it isn't going to be rented any aspect of their home.
Is that okay? Let's check on claim 35. I think here, but it. Well, you're all going to go back together. I just want to make sure it gets, well, no, but you're all going back together. I just need to make sure it gets into the hands of one of your group members. And Laura, you just happen to be the closest. Yeah. Vic, are you in that group too? Yeah, no, okay, yeah. So Vic, I will start bebopping over to Vic for these. Yeah, actually, you're right. Okay, so Vic, you're going to get the next one for the group. Any comments, suggested amendments to this one? Rose?
Actually, because this goes back to 3.1. May infer that we're only talking about houses. I suggest property owners.
So we're back on 3.1? Is that what?
Just a comment.
Okay.
Just a comment about the wording homeowners versus property owners.
Great. Okay. Michelle?
Just to go back to it, the sentence opens in that who this isn't going to impact. So this will impact property owners. This will not impact homeowners that won't be renting any part of their home. So if you change that, then you change what you're saying. In other words, if you change homeowners to property owners, then you're not talking specifically anymore about who this isn't going to impact.
I suggested
clarifying with the right wording the intent of what the claim is supposed to say to be clear and accurate about what group of people you're talking about in these claims will be important. So that may ring true for several of the claims because you do have kind of interchangeable words that might slightly shift the meaning. So do take a close eye to that. And also know that, well, that's something that also the typo the typo committee will be trying to do. But if you can do that work ahead of time, that's even better on that piece, right? Because the intent might change, right? Okay, so anything more on 35? We've got about 10 more minutes to get through. 22.2. Vic, is this yours? Is it really? No. I was kind of making a joke because.
Well, it was mine on the first group.
Just to add some more confusion to this whole list. 22.2, which group worked on that? On this one? Gotcha.
Was that us who had this one? Jenny? I thought it, I don't know. Yeah. They've just been going around all day.
So yours? Okay.
I'm just looking on the unedited version and there is no 22.2. Maybe that's why we can't get ownership of it.
Huh? It's 22. 22.2 means it was an edited version of 22.1, yeah. So it would have been 22.1 in the last round, and then it turned into 22.2. So that's Chuck's group. All right. 22.1. So it sounds like Chuck's group worked on that. And were there any suggested bits to this one?
22.2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you work with?
Yeah, got it.
Got it. Okay, so Chuck has a question for the group about this one.
So our group kind of went back and forth about if you look at 22.1 and how it morphed into 22.2. I'd like to see if the panel has thoughts on the removal of that first section where it talks about according to citizen review panelists, Prop 10, and whether or not you think that's a good idea.
So the question was around removing the reference to the Citizen Initiative Review Panel as the according to. They took that out. And he's wondering about, you're wondering if that was what the group thought about that. Tim?
I think I was looking at the wrong one. 22.2, but I think I was looking at 22.1.
Yeah, so that's the one they changed. So it was 22.1 in the last version, and then they edited it, became 22.2. And Chuck has a question about their edit, and what did the group think about that? Yeah, Shirley.
Thank you. In my opinion, according to citizen review panelists, that doesn't sound like any specific source. It sounds very vague to me and really pretty nebulous. So I think it's good to take it out because I'd be wondering, well, what is that? Who is that? And what's going on with it? And I wouldn't be able to verify it or know anything about it. So if we left that off, it would just be more cut and dry.
That's exactly why we took it out. Thank you.
All right. What's your next one? So 15.2. Who had 15.2? Thick. Okay, thick group. I'm missing 15.2. Hand them. Send it to you when I get it. Got it in my hand. Haha, made you look. Any comments, edits to 15.2?
Owner Fran says it's great.
And we put that in.
Phone a friend.
Verified by.
I'm sure the voters will find that really clear. 16.2.
I think maybe we had that.
Did you work on this one? Okay.
Is that ours?
Oh,
That's not ours.
did you work with Pat on that one? Okay, so Tim will hold that for you. 16.2. Any comments, edits, friendly suggestions? $31.2. Okay, so this was your group.
Owner Fran said couldn't confirm what an analyst said. You can't confirm what an analyst said. So that's something to take into consideration when you're looking at it.
Okay. One of the experts said this. That's where you got the. Okay. This is yours.
When it says does not permit construction of new housing units, does not permit. I know, but leave or restrict out and just say, it's got an or in there, so you're saying does not permit construction of new housing units. What does that mean?
Saying Prop 10, if we were to say does not permit construction of new housing units, it would be saying that under the law, the state of California would no longer allow the development of new housing units. So I think it needs to be restricts or permit, does not restrict or permit. It has no implication that housing, the development of housing will be changed.
I understand that part.
Okay, so now he says he
I
understands
understand what you're
it.
trying to say, but I just don't think the word permit is the right.
So he's confused. He gets it now that you just explained it. He was confused before. Do you have any suggestions or anybody want to suggest other than what you said?
I was going to like it either or
Okay.
approach.
Something like to clarify that it's
This nor that.
I think that's a great phrase to add.
Or you can say Prop 10 does not affect construction of new housing units. It won't affect it at all, so it doesn't affect it.
okay. So there's a couple suggested edits to that one.
If you look back to what we originally put in, we have I don't know, kind of a combined statement. Just see what you think about the initiative does not directly address current or future housing supply.
Pat and I spent a lot of time Pat, Jenny, and I spent a lot of time deliberating over that sentence.
Yeah, we felt in a way it may affect future supply in that we heard that certain developers wouldn't want to build construction in areas where they had rent control. and it may go across the city property. So there could be a future impact. And so we did not feel that was a true statement, that it couldn't affect future housing.
I think that's where we put the word directly.
Well, that's, we felt that just wasn't clear to a voter. That was a little ambiguous.
So can we have, I cannot remember who it was, but somebody, I think it was it you, Sherlon? Did you have that nice, concise way that made everybody start nodding and saying yes? Well, we played with ignore, but as you start getting into negative statement, it become kind of ambiguous. But somebody else mentioned a way after the saying it very.
I said that it did not affect it. And then what she just said was directly. So if you wanted to say it's not directly.
The same goal of intent, which is to make that statement clear that you got it when you were saying it to each other. Now try to figure out a way to articulate it on the claim so that it's clear to voters. Is that enough to go on? Okay, let's go to 4.1. That's Michelle. All right. Okay, 1.1.
I think this could be made stronger by citing the source.
Which one?
Oh, I thought we were on 4.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd moved on.
Oh, I
4.1 could be
apologize.
stronger by, go ahead.
I think it could be made stronger by adding a citation. I see that there are some studies that suggest this is what our friend said. So if we do have the actual source of that, I think it would make it a much stronger statement.
Okay. All right, now 1.1. Okay. Yes, Shirley. Microphone right there, next to Steve, Dennis.
A point well taken from our phone a friend about not being able to substantiate what the analyst said. But it also says Proposition 10 limiting rent hikes. It should be protects renters by limiting rent hikes.
And I would think about adding the phrase potentially tax rents only because it's only if rent control policy is put in the local municipality.
All right.
Like maybe may protect renters by limiting rent hikes.
Okay. All right. How about 9.1?
I actually think there's something missing from what we had edited. We had added a phrase about upon adoption of local rent control policies. New government fees and regulations may give homeowners a financial incentive to convert the rental properties to more profitable uses like short-term vacation rentals. I don't know where that, I think it was on top of our last form. I don't think it got added to the top.
Okay. Can you
Not
say
finished.
it again?
So it was basically upon the adoption of local rent control policy, new government fees and regulations may give homeowners a financial incentive like short-term vacations.
Okay. We had, yeah, well, that so just assume reads and we'll suggested amendments to this one. large group?
Again, there are studies that he suggests, there are some studies that suggest this for 9.1. Is that the one we're looking at, 9.1?
9.1.
Yeah, so I don't know where you find those studies, but
Okay.
be nice to cite them if you could.
So if possible, cite the studies. 23.2. Whose group worked on that one? Dennis? Paul. All right. Edits, questions, amendments? Shirley?
This relates back to what our phone a friend stated regarding a prior claim in terms of what predatory, what predatory housing practices actually are.
Okay. Paul?
Yes, he did. But also there, if you see, we also stated such as, et cetera, et cetera.
Point well taken. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yes, that is our group of rent control boards, because we decided that certain municipalities did the rent control policies in other ways other than forming a board. So we used rent control policies rather than stating rent control boards. So I don't know if options on that.
Okay.
It's open for me.
Okay. So considering saying policies instead of boards in that one?
Because in some areas, it could be the city council administers it itself or does it in another manner. They don't necessarily have to have a rent control board. At least that's what we decided.
Maybe if it's even an ordinance, perhaps.
You guys can discuss that. Somebody
Yeah,
said
policy, okay.
policies. Okay. All right, thank you. How about 11.1? We have just two more. This, okay. Tim?
I think the simple change from would to could, considering it's hinged on local, since the local government would be allowed. Well, it might not be that big of a difference. Sorry.
Chuck?
So I think the first part of that sentence, it says to dictate pricing for privately owned single-family homes. I think that is a little bit confusing in that it could lead people to believe maybe add something in there specifies that it affects private. I mean, it's the tool. Wait.
My team can help me. I believe that it said Prop 10 would allow local government to dictate for privately owned, for landlords of privately owned single-family homes. Didn't we add landlords? Yeah.
Okay, so it's dictate pricing for landlords of privately owned family homes. We're not sure. Okay, Rose?
What flashed at me automatically was government and dictate in the same sentence. So maybe like I kind of skimmed that and I was like, oh no, government's not going to dictate me. So maybe another phrasing for that.
Different phrasing for the dictate word. Okay.
I think our government dictates a lot.
Whether it's true or not.
And so what the meaning of this was to really put a point out to people that read this thing, that single family homes, whether you're a homeowner or if you want to become a landlord, you're going to be affected.
Okay.
And so that's why the stronger language.
Okay, Laura.
But if I'm a homeowner that has no intention of renting out my home or staying in my home, I find me. Yeah, the word landlord needs to be super in that, I think. And maybe instead of dictate, set pricing or rent rates, rental rates.
I think this is probably seen as an opposition